and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And this is Mark Florence.
And today we're talking about Breakdown. Mark, we are, days / a week into this quarantine, and you're like, what are you doing? And I said, I am going through the list of movies we're going to watch for Horror Rewind.
Yes. Yeah, we've watched a couple so far. Really enjoying it, so thank you.
And, P.S., I understand and I realize that not everyone is enjoying their quarantine partners, or they are alone, or you are with someone who is problematic. And I see you, I feel that, and I am extremely thankful and blessed, #blessed, that I am with someone who I am not annoyed with or annoyed by, because Mark, truly, seeing you working from home this week has been like an evolution in our relationship in a good way.
Thank you, Kelly. I gotta take care of business from home now, so Kelly got to see that, and
that was a euphemism. Just kidding.
and I enjoy spending time with you. We don't get on each other's nerves too much, and kids are pretty good so far. So we got to make the best out of the situation.
Absolutely. So we watched Breakdown. This is this Kurt Russell film from 1997. A lot of my horror peeps on Twitter have been saying, Breakdown, it's on Amazon and it's amazing. Guess what? It's 80% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It had a budget of $36 million and made $50 million at the box office. I saw it, but I had no actual recollection of it. Mark, do you remember anything like, in your mind about it? Like, I know originally you thought I was saying we're going to watch Falling Down, and You're like, oh, I love that movie. But then when I said, no, it's Breakdown because they break down in the desert, and you're like, oh, I love that movie too.
Yeah, I originally thought it was Falling Down with Michael Douglas, even though you said it was Kurt Russell, but whatever. No, but I remember, I think I watched this movie on pay-per-view. Like, when you had the basic cable back in the day, you could watch like the pay-per-view trailers or whatever. And I just remember the scene with the guy in the semi-truck is going by with the sunglasses on. He like looks out, pretty scary. But I remember watching this movie on pay-per-view and enjoying it.
Did you remember any of the intricate plot points? I did not.
I remembered more of the beginning, like when his car broke down and he's getting harassed by like the locals. And once more into the movie, probably after he goes to the bank, I didn't remember all that much. So no, I was like kind of watching it for the first time, even though I remembered that I liked it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. So this is the interesting thing about this movie. It got me thinking immediately, because they are moving from Massachusetts to New Mexico, and they have a brand new car apparently. But it got me thinking about road trips, and they're in the desert. And I will always remember how to spell desert because my cousin Jason told me, you know the difference between desert and desserts? And I'm like, what? And he said, you wouldn't want two deserts. That's how you know to put two S's in dessert.
No, that's a good way to remember the spelling. So Desert. It's the classic story of like the kind of the outsider, like rich people think it'll be fun to like get off the freeway and like take the scenic route through the desert, and the locals don't take too kindly to that.
Now, Mark, you and I drove through the desert in our youth when we were dating, and I remember thinking this would be the worst place to break down, because truly it would have. But also, like, I want to know about your road trip history, because in my childhood, okay, so here's full disclosure, everyone. I didn't fly until I was 17. And for some people, that's like, what sort of childhood did you have? But as I've said this before, my grandpa I mean, not that, this means anything, but my grandpa didn't fly until he was enlisted for World War II. And my parents didn't fly until, I think my dad flew for the first time when he was enlisted in Vietnam. Like, there's, it was like a purpose. They didn't just travel. We always did road trips. But you flew probably younger than I did, but I want to know about road trips. So when and how often did you and your family do road trips?
We did so many road trips that we actually had a special conversion van that was specifically for taking long road trips. Like, that's basically all we used it for.
What does conversion van even mean?
It's like a a regular van, not a minivan. It's like a regular van with like those seats that can like spin around, and then the back bench can like fold down into a bed. And I think we had a TV as well. So we would, and it has like a ladder on the back, so you can like climb up on the top. So yeah, we would use that for road trips. And we took a couple like out to Ohio. I think our longest one was out to Vermont, from Minnesota to Vermont, and then from Minnesota to DC and back.
Wow. Okay, that is much fancier than I ever did. We did road trips either in just a regular car, but mostly we did road trips in our pickup truck, which had a pop-up camper on the top. And Google it, people. A pop-up camper was a camper that it was like, if you tried to get in it, I mean, you could, but the top wasn't popped, and so you couldn't stand up fully. And then when you got to your KOA campground or wherever you were camping, you had to pop it so that you could have additional sleeping space and, you could stand up fully. So, yeah, we did road trips everywhere. I did, like, all of our travel in my childhood was road trips and camping. We stayed at hotels sometimes, but I didn't fly till I was 17. So, that's how it goes. And so I am feeling this road trip business. And guess what, Mark? They pull out the cell phone. This is 1997, but they didn't have cell phone service.
Yeah, it was sketchy back then. They were out in the desert. Car breaks down. Pull out the cell phone, doesn't work. Let your wife get into the truck with a sketchy trucker. By the way, I would not let that happen to you.
Thank you so much. But also, yeah, truly, I mean, I realize that this is different time and, whether we can call with our cell phone or not, yeah, probably don't separate even at this point. And the ironic thing is that, she goes with the trucker to call the tow truck from the diner 5 miles ahead. They never stop there. Kurt Russell, which is the husband, he ends up fixing it because he just like looks down and sees that something is disconnected. And spoiler alert, it ends up being the bad guy who did it while they were at the gas station earlier, because Kurt Russell almost hits this guy because he pulls out directly in front of him.
Yeah, they were kind of all in on it together. It was like this gang of like local people who would like target like a car from out of town that looked nice, try to, I don't know, somehow kidnap them. Seemed a little far-fetched, but so yeah, I mean, this like dude he almost hit, who was giving him crap at the gas station, his car broke down, and then he like got past him and he was turning around, and then the semi truck came. So it was like, yes, some hero semi truck driver came, but it was all like a big ploy. So
it's like the perfect setup. It's the perfect get because they're drawn in. So all of this business happens. Kurt Russell ends up driving into the river, and this guy who we were saying, he reminds us, we just watched Tiger King on Netflix. Oh, yeah. He has a mullet, and we were saying this guy randomly shooting at him. I mean, it's not random, but the Tiger King guy absolutely randomly shoots at people. So if you haven't watched this documentary yet, check it out because it is bonkers. At first I said, how can there be 7 episodes of this? Because it's going to be too much. But guess what? It twists and turns and it's worthy of 7 episodes.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw it was 7, I was like, that's way too many. A lot of documentaries go, 3-4 episodes. So it's too long. This one might have been maybe 1 too long, but, it kept twisting and turning, kept my interest the whole time. But anyway, back to Breakdown, not falling down. Just, it seems like this helpless feeling if you're Kurt Russell. You're in this...
Someone else's turf.
Yeah, you're in somebody else's turf. You're an outsider. It seemed like, he goes to this diner and everyone's just against him. It's like everyone's just mean to him. And this one guy even I don't know, he's acting like he was dumb or something, but he wasn't. So he was in on it too. So yeah, like Kelly said, oh yeah, so that guy said, I saw them go out by the river on this Highway 7 or something. So he goes up there and then the pickup truck dude follows him and that's when he ends up driving his truck into the river and all that. But no, a lot of good driving scenes in this movie, stunts and high adrenaline driving scenes.
Yeah, unexpected, and I did not remember. So something that's fun is this callback to the wife picks up a bunch of junk snacks at the gas station. And she's like, oh, look at this. It says you can win either $90,000 or 90,000 donuts. And she says, what would you even do with 90,000 donuts? And they talk about we could, and Kurt Russell says, we could sell each for 30 cents and try to pay off this vehicle. And she's like, ha ha. So when the bad guys confront him, they're like, no, she said a specific number about how much money you have. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But then, thankfully, they say, oh, so-called Donut King. And he's like, and it's a callback. And he's like, $90,000. So they want him to wire this money. And
not wire it.
Well, get the money. Yeah. Wire it to the bank where they're at. And then... give it in cash. And so he swipes all of the money enclosures on paper in order to fake them out. He does a bunch of ones, and we don't see him do this, but he figures it out in order to try to trick them, and it's not great.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. The guy who picks him up pretty much figures it out within 5 minutes, but by then... they fight, and I keep forgetting his name. Kurt
Russell?
Kurt Russell, sorry. I keep thinking Michael Douglas. Yeah, they're fighting behind the wheel, and this cop comes, and a fight ensues, and the cop gets shot, the bad guy gets shot, and Kurt Russell survives, so that's good.
He ends up using a payphone, maybe more than once, and... it is literally, it says 20 cents on it. That is even before the era of 25 cents, which I realize there's an era where it was a dime or even less, but wow.
20 cents is ridiculously low. Why not just add an extra 5 to 25? You throw a quarter in there, you make your phone call. Now you're getting a Nickelback. Great band, by the way, Nickelback. But
and you said that one guy looked like the guy from Nickelback. In the Tiger King documentary.
Yeah. No, it wasn't the Tiger King documentary. He looked like Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. But anyway, yeah. So it was kind of nostalgic to see the old payphone. So it's pretty cool.
I like the progression of Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell looked completely put together at the beginning of the movie. Like you said, he looked preppy or yuppie. And then by the time he gets to the bank, he is obviously a mess. He has a head wound. He's dirty. His clothes are not okay.
Yeah, they make him wear this crappy coat just so he looks halfway as presentable. I mean, he was in the river. He was in the trunk of this Camaro. he's got blood all over his face, and like the banker guy keeps going like, "Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay?" And he's like all sweaty, and so that was pretty good, representation of what he was going through, like the way he looked. So,
and realistic, probably. Speaking of realism, I started to wonder as we were watching this movie, what are the actual percentages of kidnappings and ransom demands per year in the United States or the world in general? Or is there no actual data because people are keeping it quiet because they are told not to reveal it because they were kidnapped and had to pay ransom? Like, Mark, what's going on, do you think? Is this like a fiction?
Yeah, I don't think especially in the United States, I don't think the kidnapping ransom thing is very high. I think that's more in like other countries, but so I think we would hear about more of them if it was happening more, don't you think?
I mean, I think so, but who knows? So this is an interesting part of this movie. Kurt Russell ends up riding under the bad guy's semi-truck to the guy's actual house. And this actor, we recognize him. We're like, this guy seems like military or a bad guy or whatever all the time. And R.I.P., he died a year after this movie came out. So his credits didn't go, far past this movie, which was sad. But he was a great bad guy.
Yeah, classic bad guy. I don't know his name. I don't know if you wrote his name down, but he's always like the senator guy in a movie who's like corrupt or like some military guy. But no, really quick, I thought that truck stop scene was pretty cool because there was like, I don't know, hundreds of trucks there, and there was all these people walking around. It was like super chaotic. Like people were kind of looking for Kurt Russell, and like he was looking for that guy. And I thought they did the scene really well to make it like very chaotic and like jumbled.
No, it was great. Now I wonder, okay, so he gets to this guy's house, and he exits the semi-truck and climbs onto this guy's roof. Like, it's the barn roof or whatever. Mark, were you one of these kids who used to climb onto the roof of your house? I'm guessing you weren't because you're afraid of heights, but guess what? I went onto my roof all the time.
Yeah, we would go out our bedroom window. It could go like onto the roof. So yeah, we would do that a lot. And yeah, I would try to stay, near the middle more because I'm afraid of heights. But yeah, we would do that. And I don't even know what we'd do up there, but it's just cool to be up there, I guess.
I know. I used to do that all the time too. And like, I look back on it and I'm like, wow, that's super dumb. And like, our kids have never been on our roof. Yet when I was a child, I would put up a ladder and climb onto my roof. And then when we added onto our house and we had a window where I could climb out of it, I would go on the roof all the time. I just thought it was like the coolest place to be. But that seems super dangerous now, right?
Yeah, don't go on your roof, especially in the winter. It can be slippery. You can fall off there. I only go up there when like it's 100% necessary. And like I'm the worst at. It's not that bad to get off a ladder and get onto your roof, but it's really hard, especially if you're afraid of heights, to get back on that damn ladder. Like, anyway, so
no, getting down is scarier than getting up, honestly. Now, an interesting thing was revealed when he gets down from the roof and enters this barn. He sees a pile of license plates because guess what? Just like what's that Quentin Tarantino movie with the vampires?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. This is an ongoing operation. It's not a one-time thing. They are doing this all the time. They have kidnapped multiple people and had them wire money because they are targeting rich yuppies.
Yeah, like this is really like your mode of getting income is like kidnapping people with like this band of whatever, like criminals.
Vigilantes.
Yeah, vigilantes. Yeah, I mean, it just, to me, it seemed a bit far-fetched. I mean, it made for a cool story. I mean, it really hit home for me when like the guy got home and like his wife came out and his kid came out and he's like, like, honey, I'm home or whatever. So it's like this guy is out there kidnapping people, killing people. And then he comes home, like, to his family, like, he's out trucking or whatever. So he felt like he needed to get what was coming to him.
It's also Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There are a ton of cars that are abandoned in their property, and they've been killing people, in retrospect. So it's plausible. Now, this scene, when Kurt Russell enters the house, he finds a gun. He enters the house. He is holding a gun to everyone's at the dinner table, and the bad guy tells his son, Deke, to just shoot Kurt Russell.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Like, Kurt Russell had the upper hand. He knew the kid was in the other room playing, like, Doom or something. But, he's pointing the gun at all the people eating breakfast. And then, of course, the little, like, 10-year-old kid comes in with the rifle, and he's like, my daddy's rifle's always loaded so I can protect mama when he's gone or whatever. So it's kind of a cool standoff. Like, Kurt Russell's like, don't do it. And the kid's dad's like, come on, do it. And finally, and then I think the mom at the very end says, do it. And that's what, like, sets the kid to do it. But right when Kurt Russell hears that, he flinches and hits the gun, and the kid pulls the trigger and shoots a different bad guy.
So good. And so one of the bad guys escapes. Kurt Russell has the other three and the kid held hostage. He is able to get the wife to open up the trapdoor and freeze her where his wife is, and he knows she can only probably survive for 10 minutes on that little oxygen, and she's alive.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but he's up in, like, the rafters, like, the upper part of the barn, and they're getting her out of this compartment in the semi, and they think she's dead. And they're like, oh, man, the exhaust must have gotten to her. So they're like, yeah, we'll go bury her. It's like a minute in, and all of a sudden she starts, like, kicking and stuff. So we thought she was dead for, like, a minute.
It was so powerful. They escape, Kurt Russell and his wife. They run to this trailer just on the property, and they think they're going to be okay because they finally find the keys to this truck sitting outside the trailer. But guess what? A semi-truck, the bad guy, drives a semi-truck through the trailer.
Yeah, literally. Like, they have to figure out what part of the trailer he's going to hit and, like, not be there. And luckily, they get to the right part. And then they have to get in that truck, figure out which key starts the truck as the guy's driving a semi-truck at them, and at the last second, they get out of the way. It
was so adrenaline-filled and incredible. And also, so I wrote down they were triple-teamed by vehicles because there's literally two bad guys on each side of them and the semi-truck behind them. And there were so many sweet driving stunts in this scene. Mark, I realize this is probably far-fetched and ridiculous, but it was also kind of awesome.
The reason I liked it is that it seemed not realistic, but it seemed like warranted, like
organic.
Yeah, organic. Like a lot of the times in these movies, I think like The Matrix had this like long, not the first one, but like the second and third one had this like long freeway scene with all this action. Like I hate when you can just sense it's going to be like an action sequence. It's like, oh, commence action sequence. But this seemed more organic, and like you weren't even thinking like, oh, whatever, like stunt driving. It was cool. So I liked it.
I agree. And so also the thing that I liked about this sequence, all three bad guys in their separate vehicles had satisfying death scenes because everyone got what was coming to them because they were douchebags, and they'd been doing this to people who were #innocent. Maybe they were rich, but we shouldn't kill and eat all the rich, right?
No, what I was going to ask you earlier is they said we should have taken him right away, and they're like, he wouldn't get in the truck. So what do they usually do? Like kidnap both of them and then like get their money and then kill them, you think? Or what do you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, good point. And they said he wouldn't get in the truck. Ugh. Okay, so what I also appreciated by this end death sequence is that the woman, the wife, actually ended up killing the main baddie because she put the truck in drive or neutral, and the truck fell on the guy because he was like actually still moving in the river on the rocks.
That was a great suspenseful scene. The semi-truck's trying to push them over a bridge. They're right on the edge. They're in the other truck. Her leg gets stuck in the car, and like the only way they can do anything is Kurt Russell has to get out of the car, get in the semi, and like fight the other guy. So they're like fighting over the truck, and then that truck is like literally hanging by like one little piece of metal off this bridge, and they're like fighting. They're hanging off this truck, and the guy has a chain, and he tries to hit Kurt with it, and Kurt grabs the chain, pulls, and the guy falls into the river. And then he gets back up, gets his wife out of the car. But then you can see the guy still moving, so I think she just puts the truck in gear, and then it falls right on the guy. So that's good.
That's the thing I think that makes this movie. Some of the sequences, or maybe even the plot, seems over the top or ridiculous, but what makes it work are the stakes are realistic. He literally had his car break down and is trying to save his wife. And those are two things that any of us can understand. And also, these bad guys, they're like realistic to a point as well. Like, oh, guess what? They scam people who break down, or they make them break down, and they get their money. And that probably happens,
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, the guy takes her in his semi, and then he never sees her again. But then he's driving his Jeep a little later, and he sees the guy again. He's wearing a different hat and different sunglasses. So he finally gets him to stop.
And he's gaslighting him.
Yeah, he's like, he gets out of the car. He's like, can I help you with something? He's like, yeah, where's my wife? You took her, whatever. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen you before. And then he flags down a cop, and you're like, okay, this is good. But the guy's just like, yeah, I'm on my way to Fresno and all this stuff. And, it's pretty frustrating, if because it's the guy, and everyone knows it's the guy, but he just claims he's never met him, and they search the truck, don't find anything, and send everyone on their way.
So I was thinking during that scene, it's like, yeah, I mean, you would probably believe the calm truck driver versus this guy who's, flailing and seeming hysterical, quote unquote. Yet, I mean, what would happen? Could they DNA test the vehicle? Could they hold that guy without probable cause? I don't know. And that's the scary thing. It's like, even the person who you think will help you and solve this situation, maybe they can't. And that's where the horror comes in.
Yeah, I don't think they would hold him. Like, he searches the whole truck and everything seems good. So, he's got his name, his license number, his truck number, and all that. So, I mean, at that point, what else can you really do?
And also, like you said, if usually the husband goes with in their long con, then they're not getting this secondary, like, stop a cop and report them. So it's not like he's getting stopped all the time and reported. So yeah, they've gotten away with it up until this point. And how much money have they accumulated? Like, this is bonkers.
Yeah, who's to say? I don't know. They had like 20 license plates in there. So, and they have all his cameras and all this like luggage and stuff. So he's just keeping all this stuff in his barn.
Now, this movie, I realize, it wasn't extremely popular or made a ton at the box office, but this is a movie that is ripe for prequels, because they could do like a ton of prequels about the breakdowns and the other couples that they got, screwed over. But also, if there's prequels, we know that they are all gonna die, right?
Yeah, good point. I thought one of these movies was sufficient.
Okay, Mark, let's rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being a perfect movie. What is our scale for breakdown? Man. I mean, I'm thinking the crowbar that he tries to break his...
Or you could say guys who look like the Tiger King.
Yeah, let's use that mullet guy.
Yeah.
How many mullets do you give breakdown?
I'm gonna give it 8 Tiger King mullets. You know, it didn't try to be any more than it was. It kind of made you feel on edge the whole time. You know, very suspenseful, good action sequences. You know, you feel for the guy. You feel real frustrated, like at the beginning when he goes into the diner and like all the locals are against him. He's smart. He uses his surroundings to help himself, like at the bank. And, you know, if someone kidnaps your wife, you're going to stop at nothing to try to get them back. So,
Aw, good to know.
yeah. So I will do that for you, Kelly. And, it was just good up until the end. Even it was suspenseful. They're trying to get her into the freezer and his wife's coming out. I'm like, man, his wife is this guy's wife's coming out to get them for breakfast, and they got to get this lady into a freezer. So no, I enjoyed it, and the end sequence was good. And so all real solid, nothing like super earth shattering or spectacular, but real good.
I also am giving it 8 mullets. I thought it was super solid. I do not 100% remember this movie. Like, it's weird how you remember seeing a movie, but if you don't rewatch it, it's just like, you know, gone with the wind. And so I am glad it is on Amazon Prime as of this recording, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It's a good true horror, thriller, and action movie. I would describe it under all those things. And Kurt Russell, okay, so this is my full disclosure and guilty pleasure moment, but if Tombstone or Overboard are ever on TV, like if I'm flipping through channels and either of those movies are on, like I'm in, done 100%. Kurt Russell is amazing and I love him. And so I think he's great. What do you think, Mark?
I agree. He's very good. But I think we will have to do Falling Down now, since I thought that was the movie we were going to do. So maybe we'll have to do that.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you scrolling through the horror section.
Bye.